everybody, and welcome to Be in the Know, Table Games and More. And today it is my privilege to go to the more part of that. And my special guest is none other than Nick Ippolito. He is the PD guru, well, I guess whatever you call it. But anyway,
the preacher of PD, I've been called. The preacher of PD.
He's all that. He's up there on his pulpits, and he preaches a lesson. So, Nick, let me say something before we start.
Yeah.
I'm a table games guy, and us table games guys, we always think, oh, God, here comes that PD guy again. And everything I just made last night, he's going to blow back off to this player. So, that's where I'm coming from. So this should be a very, very, very entertaining interview. Nick, welcome to Be in the Know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I watch you all the time. I follow you. When you asked me, I got very excited. I was very honored, Benny. You do a great service. Great service.
Well, we give it a shot, right? So
yeah, that's all we can do.
Let's start it off here with an easy one here. When you go into a place, what's a warning sign? What should like if you're a GM, what's a warning sign that your PD your department needs a little bit of change, a little pepping up? What would you notice at first?
Wow. So, well, first, let me tell you that, thankfully, I guess, for me, that started 11, 12 years ago when I first got contacted, right? And I think prior to that, especially all the, Indian gaming that I visit, prior to that, they didn't know. I don't think they gave it much thought. I don't think they gave PD much thought, or they gave casino hosting much thought, which is fair. They have hotels, and they had building, and they had to grow, and they had security, and then dealers, and GM, there's a lot to do. And then they got around to PD. So for 15 years, all PD was exposed to, it's not their fault, but all they were exposed to was sitting at a desk and, how may I help you? How may I help you? How may I help you? And then maybe writing them a comp and sending them on their way. So, of course, the one bad thing that did was it entitled the player, right? The player became very entitled that nobody was saying no, right? You comp everybody. Right. Everybody walked in and got a comp, everyone. So there was none of that structure. But what happens, I always say, is people have often asked me, what was the turning point with my career, with my business being successful? Competition. Competition breeds salesmen, right? Mm-hmm. So you're a joint in the middle of a cornfield, no one around for miles for 15 years. Boom. One day, two casinos, Penn Gaming opens up across the street and somebody else opens right down the road. And now you see the loss of business. So that's the first sign I think that GMs get and CFOs get. They see the gaming revenue going down, the comps not going down. So they retained a handful of the regular people, but they're still getting comp. So that's the first sign. And then they come to me and they say, it's time to be salespeople. It's time to get these hosts out from behind a desk and how may I help you? How may I help you? And it's time to get them on the phones and who we're missing and where are we missing? So that would be the first sign. I think that's what happens. That's not even my opinion or my, saying that. I don't judge that, right? That is the emails I've gotten over the last 11, 12. That's been the cry for help, where they finally get situated. Their gaming revenue is off, right? They're losing sections of their tiers, of their demographics, and they know that they need the host to become more aggressive and become a sales department.
So when they go after these people, these decliners or
inactives,
inactives, how do you know when somebody just people burn out, right? They're gone.
Absolutely.
You got a shelf life on most gamblers of around 5 years or so.
Yeah. But some are longer, some are shorter.
What's the determining factor with you? Now you go in a new jurisdiction. You don't know if Eddie's going over to the place 5 miles down the road and playing. You just know that he's a decliner. And what would be a true sign that a guy's still alive and still a vital player to the business? It just hasn't shown up.
The most wonderful question in the world, because there's only one sign, and it's that telephone or that cell phone. And this is what I teach, and this is what I've preached in the last years and years, even before I was doing it on my own. That's a great question, Benny, because the only way you're not a mind reader. I'll be in meetings with marketing teams that came, they have college behind them, and they have experience behind them. I'll come in with analysts that analyze everything and have a analytical view about everything. And even some hosts will say to me, well, that guy he hasn't been here in 6 months. He ain't playing anymore. And I'll say, oh, you know him? You talk to him? And they go, no, I could just see it in the analytical. So I don't live there. I don't live in analytics. Okay. The only way I'm going to know is I pick up that phone and I go, Benny, you still in action? You still in the game? You cheating on me? You're going somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you talk to a gambler. And gamblers love it. They love that. The most thing I get when I make calls with all these hosts all over the world, they say, oh, your joints never called me. Yeah, no kidding. They're going to start saying, no, Nick Ippolito must be there, right? Because all I teach hosts is a lot of places, a lot of people who train hosts or claim to train hosts, they have to have an offer. They have to call with, well, I got free play for you. And I don't even get into that yet. The first thing I'm going to do is say, Benny, you're still in action? You still playing? You're going to tell me right there, oh, Nikki, no, my wife passed away. I moved. I gave up gambling. Okay, now I know. See, and direct mail can't do that, right? Direct mail is going to keep, well, if you're inactive, you're going to get some free play, and then eventually they're going to send you nothing, a $20 food voucher, and they're never going to get the answer.
Right.
So the answer is to pick up the phone and ask you what's going on. And then listen, if you say to me, oh yeah, I'm still in action, son, don't worry about me. Harris takes really good care of me. Boom. That's what I want to hear, right? I'm a big fisherman. So I always put everything in that perspective where you see the weeds. You think there's a fish there. So you cast the lure. The lure kind of gets him out, right? You kind of get his attention. But then when he strikes, you got to get him in the boat. It's no different. So I'll call anybody, any theoretical, any level, I don't care if they come to the casino once in 20 years. I'm going to call the guy and go, hey, what were we doing in my joint 20 years ago? I crack up sometimes. The host will pull up a player and he's 50, 60 years old, 70 years old, and he's got one trip to their casino, 6 months ago. I go, yeah, well, the guy didn't wake up at 70 years old and go, hey, Martha, I'm going to try this gambling thing today. He's been gambling, right? Maybe he hasn't used the card. Maybe he's going to the competitor. Maybe he just moved to your area. The answer is there's no silver bullet until a host, which is what PD is, player development. Direct mail is great and you need it, but it can't do player development. Nobody can do player development but a human being, but a casino host, right? You pick up the phone and you find out all your questions. You find out from asking the guy. Too many of them do this mind reading. They stare at a screen and they go, well, maybe he's a truck driver, maybe he's a snowboarder. But I go, pick up the phone.
Well, who
knows?
It baffled me a lot, and I've been to several different properties, several different jurisdictions, and every one of them the same. You'll find a guy who comes in frequently, and you'll start a conversation up with him, and it's you know what? I've never even met my host.
Yeah, happens a lot.
I don't even know who it, and I mean, this isn't a guy who's betting $20 a rattle. He's betting, $200-300 on a carnival game, and he has no idea who his host is. He knows he gets offers and something.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just, that's not my way of doing business. So let me ask you this: when you go into an area, do you scout the demographics, or that there's in the area, and know that there's 30% 20 to 29-year-olds, or what do you do as far as training? Is that
well, I don't drill it down to that much of the age or anything. The only thing I have to be conscious of is, listen, if I go to Philly and make calls, I'm on the phone all day long and nobody's hanging up on me, right? I have to be conscious of my East Coast aggressiveness, which I get called aggressive in some places, but it's not aggressive. You know that. It's tactical. Aggressive is, Benny, you don't come to this casino and I'll slam your head against your Cadillac if you don't come here tonight, right? That's aggressive. What I teach is tactic and technical things, right? So, but I have to be aware of that. If I'm way down south, I do a lot of work in Louisiana and down south. And, they corrected me. The girls said, we say Miss Daisy and we say Mr. T, and that's fine. That has nothing to do with the foundation and the techniques, right? that's the DNA. That's the demographic. So I do normally I'll know. I mean, if I know if I'm going to the East Coast, I know if I'm going to, South Carolina, if I'm going to down south, I know I'm going to California. I'll know ahead of time how do I have to address the team and not scare them, or if I'm on the East Coast, it doesn't scare anybody. But I don't drill down as much as you're saying, and perhaps I should. But as far as Asian marketing and things like that, I do look at that. I'll ask the host, I'll ask the leader, I'll ask marketing for their numbers, so I know who I'm up against. The funny thing about Asian, I'll go to some places, and this, I'll go to some place and I go, how's your Asian marketing? And they'll go, well, it's only 2%, in the area. And I go, well, here's the difference between Asian marketing and domestic. The whole 2% gamble. I go, I don't care if there's only 2%. All of them you can get them all to gamble, right? So that's what you got to keep in mind with Asian marketing. And you don't need to hire an Asian host or an Asian speaking. That's a myth. But you do have to pay attention to that. But as you know, with Asian, you got to feed them and you got to give them their cigarettes and you got to, you got to have something for them or they won't come. You got to know how to yield pai gal. You got to know how to yield baccarat or they won't show up. So I'm aware of that. And then sometimes hosts will say to me, one time I was at a place and the host actually said this to me, that we have too many events here. And I'm like, oh, don't ever say that. Right. Mm-hmm. But you got to look at your date of birth. And then that's when I look at date of birth, because maybe one place I went one time and I think they had Charo. Remember Charo, the Spanish chuchi, right? And they're calling 20-year-olds or 25-year-olds. I'm like, well, 25-year-olds don't care about coochie Charles. So save that. So I do teach them to themselves, not so much me, but to look at their demographic, look at their age. How about this? If they're 70, 80, 90 years old, they can come during the week. No host ever thinks to call them and say, hey, you never get a room comp on a Wednesday. You never get a suite on the weekend. I'll comp you on Wednesday, right? Just by looking at their date of birth. So I do drill it down in my training, yes.
Yeah, you definitely don't offer a guy in Philly a meatball sub.
Definitely not.
You talk about and this baffled me in one jurisdiction I went into. They said, well, like you said, what's the numbers? 12%. Yeah. Or I said, well, wait a minute, that's 7,100 Asian people in this area, this geographical area. I said, am I wrong? But you only got 48 betting positions here. You ought to. That's a big chunk, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're telling me you're not going after it? So that was that. I felt that was very funny. Let me ask you.
Well, I have found with Asian marketing, and you just hit it. That's a big factor. Having pai gal, having baccarat, but knowing how to yield the games and structure the games, and that's that's crucial to the Asian marketing.
What's more valuable, winner or loser?
What a handsome question. What is more valuable, a winner or a loser? Well, obviously, loss we take to the bank. We pay the electric bill with loss, right? There's no silver bullet for that, because I'll look at players. If they're beating us, right, then there's a flag that goes off. Okay. And a lot of times when I'm training, the host will say, I got this great player, but they don't let him bet here anymore. Or they don't let him play video poker. Or it doesn't have to be tables, right? It could be video poker too. So just for jokes, I'll say, well, pull him up. And they pull him up and I see he's beaten. And I go, no, give me his lifetime. And lifetime, he's down $1.2 million. Well, he ain't that good at it. Right? Oh. If he's an advantage player, he's not very good at it, right? So that's where I'll step in and look at them yearly and lifetime and see where we're going, why they're winning, right? And as you know this, table games, I teach about the short timers. We just don't want short timers. The guy's giving me 9 hours on the table with a good average bet and he's beating me, hey, that's on me. I'm going to get him, right? He's short timing me, I'm never going to get him, and I'm going to chase him. So he needs to be spoken to. He needs to be say, look, we're not going to comp you unless you give me 2 hours minimum. With that average bet, I need at least a minimum 2 hours before you ask me for a comp or promotional chip or free play, whatever. So there's not really a direct answer, right? If they're winning overall and they're unprofitable, I mean, anybody, Home Depot would throw me out, right? If I was unprofitable. So unprofitable is different than a winner or a loser. Loser, of course, pays the bills, but theoretical, I live in theoretical, Benny. I live in ADT, average daily theo. I can't get away from it. I can't do 6-month rolling, 12-month this, to these things that these people invent. Just tell me what the guy does on any given trip, right? And then show me his best trip, And that's my job, is to get him to do that best trip every single time. If you don't, then we had to discuss. I tried, right? I tried to help the guy. Look, last May, you played 6 hours. You had a $400 average bet in black. That's what I need you to do all the time. Can't do it? Then okay. Then we're okay. Shake his hand, and I can't do what I want to do for you, right? So, yeah, that's my winner or loser speech.
Yeah, I always like to ask that question. Is there really no right or
Great
wrong
question.
answer? You know, in the
Right.
short term, a winner's probably more profitable because he's going to be a mouthpiece. He's going to go out and shout it from the rooftops that he won.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that word of mouth marketing is very valuable. You know, everybody loves a loser. You know, I think
Listen, I learned that.
Steve Sears had an article one time, and he wrote in a magazine about blew my mind. He says, "I love losers." I'm thinking, oh my God, how can somebody say
Well,
that?
he shouldn't have wrote that, because I got some backlash on saying that, but he didn't mean it that way. He didn't mean the way they quoted him, you know. But I learned a long time ago when I first got to Caesars in Vegas. My first stop at Caesars in Vegas, and there was a guy playing the $100 slot machine, you know, and I got to be friendly with him. And I said, "How long have you been coming here?" And he's, 12 years I'm playing. I go, and he goes, "This machine." And I go, and I knew the guy was down 80,000 already those few months, right? And the jackpot wasn't even close to that, right? So I said, "Well, if you hit it, you're not even going to break even." And he looked at me, he goes, "But I hit this on this machine once," right? Once, 12 years ago. And so you're right. So that's what he chased, and that's what he bragged about. And he didn't look at it the way I was looking at it. Even he was looking at it like he's going to hit that again, you know? So I learned that very early on.
So Nick, they say a winner comes back really fairly quickly in about 8 days after that's the average time between trips. But a loser takes 12 to 15 days to get them back in the door. What would be a trick to speed that process up? How we narrow that gap?
Well, I don't ever recall those statistics. So you taught me something new. Again, to me, it goes back to the phone, you know, and just getting on. The only guy that knows is that guy, right? And here's the thing about winners and losers, and Steve taught me this. If a guy loses and he laughs about it a little bit, you know, he's a little upset, but he goes to dinner and he's like, all right, he books again. That's the guy you want. The guy who loses and puts a gun to his head, you don't want that, right? That's not enjoyable for anybody anymore, right? And I remember when you're giving people credit, and I would say to people, let me give you 10 grand, and they'd call back a couple of days. Well, can I have 100 grand? And I'd say, let me ask you a question. If you lost 100 grand, would you put a gun to your head? And the guy go, I don't want to lose 100 grand. All right, well, then I'm not going to give you 100 grand bankroll, right? Play what you need to play to keep you coming back, to keep you enjoyable and entertained. And that's the trick with losers and winners. I don't want the miserable guy that's, kicking thing, throwing the trash can because he lost, or taking 12 days to come back. That's not the guy I want. So I think it's just a matter of getting on the phone, and that's where that relationship comes in. A lot of, Henry Paisano did it for 100 years, where you can call a guy and go, look, I know you took a beating there. I know that's a beating for you. So maybe the host might say, take 15 days. Don't take, it's not 12 for you. That loser winner 12 days, that's all about relationship marketing. That's really knowing a player. And I'll tell you what's funny about that. I travel to all these places and I train these hosts, and sometimes I'll get on the phone and I'll talk to the host, to the player, and I'll book them. And the host can't believe some of the things I say to the player, right? How transparent I am. And I say to them, oh my God, you should hear what we used to say, right? To our players in Vegas and Atlantic City. Your mind would explode. We were extremely transparent, and honest with them. It was mind-boggling.
Yeah, it was. And when it was done right, what a beautiful thing it was. I mean,
beautiful relationships. Beautiful.
It was. So what makes a good host? You kind of touched on it, but what sets a guy apart?
So, and you know what? That's going to be depending on the property. I'm in a transition phase right now where I'm going to a lot of smaller and small mid-sized properties, and they're really hung up on this executive hosting and this host, and the host only get this much Theo, and these hosts get that. And I think it's silly when you're in a smaller or a small to mid-sized property, right? What makes a good host for them is somebody that's going to be on the floor, visible, and maybe they should hire telemarketers. That's my new thing. Hire a telemarketing crew. Keep those hosts in those small and mid-sized casinos, keep those hosts on the floor, building relationships and looking out for the opportunity, right? So many times I'll pull lists and there's so many players that played for 12 minutes, 2 minutes. They only came in one time. Well, that's because you were in the host office, on Facebook and Amazon. Well, that guy was playing for 12 minutes and he walked out. Nobody said boo to him, right? Mm-hmm. So I think in some properties, they really need to focus their, just call them casino hosts, keep them on the floor, keep them visible. We just talked about table games. So many hosts these days are completely ignoring the fruits, the low-hanging fruit of a table game player, right? But yet some properties, Casino del Sol runs a great program where they're in Arizona, but they're almost ran like they're a Vegas or Atlantic City property. They have junior hosts, they have executive hosts, they have an independent program, right? That the guy there is running very successfully, and they're trying to pull in. So if you're trying to pull in people from other markets or from 2-3 hours away, you're going to need a really good salesperson. You're going to need a really good person. I look for sales. Even a junior host, I look for sales. I've sat in many, many interviews for hosting. And the first words out of these kids' mouths are, well, I'm really good people and people like me and I love people and I have really good people skills. And I go, let's stop. Mm-hmm. That is not the prerequisite for being a casino host. That is the prerequisite for working in this building. I hope security interviews like that. I hope housekeeping interview. They don't. I hope dealers interview like that, right? But that's not the prerequisite for being a host. So I look for that sales. I ask them, have you ever sold anything? That's the first thing I'll ask them. Have you ever sold anything? Car salesmen get hired immediately. The minute I don't even interview them. If they have car sales on their resume, they are hired, right? Because they understand numbers. My numbers this quarter. How am I going to make it up next quarter? How am I going to find new business? They understand that. Car salesmen also understand this. Nobody walks on the lot unless they're going to buy a car, right? Yeah. So nobody's taking a joy walk to the casino, right? So if they're in your joint, you want to talk to them and go, hey, what can I sell you? Can I sell you a car, right? So I love car sales. So I look for that sales experience. I'll say telemarketing, and I'll look for the body language. I'll look for the reaction, because how some people, you say telemarketing, they're done with the interview. Mm-hmm. They want to get out of there. So I definitely look for that telemarketing not to be a trigger. And then, if they say they have good people skills, you want to really have them explain that, because a lot of these hosts I train say they have great people skills and people love them and I love people and people love me. And then they say, oh, I met that guy last night on the floor. And I'll say, well, does he go by cell phone number? No, I didn't get it. Does his wife gamble? Oh, I didn't ask him. Does he go anywhere else? Oh, I didn't ask him. Well, where's your people skills now, right? So right. I think I look for it all with I know it's not, again, it's not, I have a $3,000 suit on and a $40,000 watch, and I'm, and I love people. It's not that. There's a lot of sales to it. There's a lot of sales.
Yeah, you got to do like Tony Robbins. You got to get him to walk on hot coals and follow you there. So what's
you know what I tell some people in the interview? Ask them. I did this. I think I did it at Rivers in Pittsburgh. When in an interview, I was very, calm about it, but you're very kind of casual about it. I go, you have any talents? And the one kid said, yeah, I rap. I go, stand up on the chair and shoot me a rap. Some of them were shy to do it. That's not a casino host. Yeah. The ones that jumped on the chair and I had to go, okay, sit down. You're a host, right? So there's that element as well. You're right. There's that element as well. You got to be ready to go, right? Can't be shy.
So you got a new player. What's the best way to break the ice? What do you talk about?
What do you mean I got a new player?
Yeah, you got a new guy you never met before. You want to bring him over your side. How do you break the ice with that guy? Where do you go?
So, well, I don't break the ice. What I teach is you can't sell anybody what they don't want. So calling somebody, and I also teach hosts have to have value, right? So telemarketing is not, hi, they butcher your last name. Hi, Mr. Mancino. Hi, yes, my name is Nick. I'm one of the hosts here you're done, right? You're already shaking your head. You'll hang up immediately, right? So it's about having value. So you got to be very prepared before you make this call. So while it's ringing, sometimes I'll say, what are you going to offer this guy? What do you got for this guy? Where do you want this guy? What do you want out of this phone call? And if they don't know, I hang up real quick and I go, well, wait, let's go over it. Let's talk about this, right? You have 3 seconds to prove I'm not wasting Benny's time on this phone call, right? You're in the car, you're with your kids, you're at work, whatever you're doing. I got 3 seconds to prove I'm not a waste of time. So I open up with that. I open up with knowing how I'm going to approach. Again, it's the lure. It's the lure in the weeds. If you live far away, I'm going to start with, I got a room comp for you. And then there's a little bait and switch, right? So I got a room comp for you, Benny. You're going to go, what? Who? What? I got your immediate attention, right? Yeah. Because I'm selling what you want. I'm not selling my title. A lot of hosts call and they want to give their title and what they're doing and why they're making the call. You don't got that kind of time, right? I only got a few minutes to get his attention. Then once I have his attention, then I'm gonna qualify him. I'm gonna find out who Benny is. Where else are you gambling? Then I get all the information. Then I set myself up, right? Then as a host, we have that gut where we know this guy's a fish or he's going to be a whale, right? And then we do it. And then that's only a host can do that from that point on.
Well, like you said, the more you prepared is
gotta be prepared.
Better. If somebody knows that I'm in table games and they say something about table games, they got my attention immediately. You know what I mean?
Right.
I used to kind of use it backwards. When I was at the Hard Rock, I tell a story. People are probably sick of hearing it. But, when there was a problem on swing shift, the shift manager always handled it and met the guests at the cage. Well, the cage at the Hard Rock in the newest section was a mile away from the other high limit room. And, you get a call to go there. And by the time you get there, the guy's so angry that because it took you so long to get there, that, I had to figure out a plan, what to do. And what I would look is for characteristics or some kind of look or some kind of clothing or something I could say, because my tag didn't say Benny Mancino Casino Man, it just said Benny. So I had a one shot to get this guy in a different place. And so one time I'm walking over here and I see this guy and he's nothing descriptive, nothing plain as guy you ever see. He's got an orange t-shirt on. And I'm like, oh my God, I got nothing. And I get him closer and closer and closer. He turns around and it's a Texas Longhorns t-shirt. And I'm like, hey man, how about those horns? And I mean, we're into we're bumping chests and we're doing this for like, it probably went on for a minute and a half, and I finally said, hey man, I'm Benny Mancino. I'm the casino manager. I heard you got a problem. What can I do for you? And he looked at me with the deadest look and he said, hey man, it was nothing. He said, I just appreciate you coming over. But I took him from his lowest place. He was angry. He was mad to his happy place. The horns was his happy place. And as a host, I've seen masters of this that could take a guy from his worst spot. He's pissed off. He's mad because he's losing. And then immediately, boom, they got him in his happy place. So one thing I heard you say on an interview was, a player, when you're telling them, well, this happened and that happened, they just totally zone out the noise. They don't care what happened. They just know it didn't happen. And explain that. I really found that fascinating.
Great. Well, I think you're talking about, I do customer service training and I only do casino customer service training. And that's really been successful over the years because so many non-gaming employees don't understand what you and I know, right? Or a host or whatever, by the ones that are in gaming, a dealer, anybody. All the dishwasher, the cook, the security officer, they don't know what we know, right? They're not in the gaming like we are in the gaming. So I teach, don't do policy. Nobody wants to hear policy. Use psychology and sell what they want. You sold what that guy wanted by doing the Texas Longhorns. People don't think that's sales, but that's sales. You may not even thought that was sales, but that's sales. Sell people what they want. And that's what you did. The guy doesn't want to talk about what he lost or the miserable time he had, but he didn't want to talk about the Texas Longhorns, right? So I always teach that. You go to a restaurant and you're hungry and you're waiting in line and you finally get to the podium and the girl says, well, one of our cooks called out sick and only half the set. I don't care. Do you want my money? I want to eat. Shut up, seat me, and bring me bread and water and a lemon and shut up, right? So don't give me, I always say that, don't do, in the pit, I've done it too with pit guys. They'll go up to somebody and go, yeah, this cocktail waitress, she ain't coming. No, bring me water, bring me coffee. Well, the guy ordered a whiskey. Doesn't matter. Bring him a water and go, listen, I'm really sorry. It's on its way. I called again. Here's coffee and a water. I've done that. There was a miserable guy once and I said to the table game, bring him coffee and water. Let's get a coffee. And I got a coffee and a water. The guy was ecstatic. He was hysterical, right? He's like, well, I wanted a whiskey, you know, and it broke the ice, and the guy got in there. So always never go after. Nobody cares about policy. Nobody cares what you're going through. They care, and that's what the non-gaming employees don't understand. I don't care, and you know this. I don't care if the guy lost $500 or $50,000. Have some sympathy, have some empathy. He lost money. He's allowed to be upset. He's allowed to be miserable. He's allowed to be. You don't have to make it worse. I teach security officers, and I always say, what's the first thing you ask somebody? The girl is with a little kid, and she's near the slot machine. What's the first thing you say? First words out of their mouth is ma'am. The most condescending word in the English language, right? It's not ma'am. You don't say ma'am to anybody, right? So my always thing has always been, is this your first time here? That's how I open every conversation. Even if they've been here 30 times. They'll say to me, I've been here 30 times. You have? You're one of our VIPs. Sell what they want. I'll never forget, I was at the Hollywood Park, you know, in Compton there in California, right? Really hard place. I wasn't doing PD because they had no PD, but I was doing customer service. And they had this one big player, and he was walking out the door, winning, pissed off. Nobody had his name or number or nothing. And I wasn't there doing PD, but I went after him. And he's out front waiting for valet, so I'm out front too. And I just look at him, I go, he didn't say one word to me, Benny. And I look at him and I go, where's that accent from? And I'm in California. And he goes, my accent? Where are you from? And I went back in the casino with the guy about 40 minutes later, had his name, number, everything. He gambled more. Just by me saying, he didn't say a word to me, but I looked at him, I go, where's that accent from? And I got him to yell at me, talk to me, whatever, right? So never policy.
Yeah, it's it just don't work. They don't care about the policy, or that's our place. That's something we've always done it here. Yeah, they don't want to hear that. So you talked a little bit that you're really not a statistics man, but I'm really fascinated anymore by these algorithms and all these stats that these people put together to learn that we should go on fourth down and all that. You think there's going to be a place in marketing for this where you know if you offer this guy this or this combination of this in a show, you've got a 90% chance of him showing up versus not showing up. But if you offer him this and this, you got a 10% chance of him showing up. Is there anything to that kind of statistical marketing?
Well, I don't know if there's anything to it because I'm in the same league that you are in, but they have that, Benny. There are plenty of directors of marketing, vice president of marketing, consultants out there teaching marketing, teaching the casinos. They have they think they do. I mean, again, I don't look at it. They believe they have all these numbers. They believe that the guy spending so much money on a hotel room is better than the guy spending on the slot machine, or better than the carnival guy playing Texas Hold'em, or better than this. They believe that they're getting trained now by people who do Foot Locker and Amazon, and they're really getting trained on this retail end. Do I fight it? Not at all. Do I believe it? I absolutely believe it. But do I think that any of it can do player development? It cannot. It cannot, because it's just all statistics and it's all analytical and it's all based on percentages. Whereas player development is developing the player. So even if he's not there now, that's my job to get him there and determine whether or not he can go there or not. So again, like we talked about earlier, if I only have a 90 theoretical, marketing's got me figured out. They go, I have brown eyes and I come every Wednesday and I respond to the pizza in the buffet, but I don't respond to the bowling coupon. Yeah, they have all those statistics, but that's all well and good for them. And I believe it's a completely separate, it should be two different silos, so to speak. Yeah. And I always tell hosts, more hosts get caught up in averages and CRM programs and text messaging and email blasts. You're just giving into that side. You're getting away from the player development. You're getting away from true developing of new business, of potential players.
Right, and that's probably more of a direct marketing type approach, let alone you're in a PD area. And I don't see even though it's there, and you hear these people who they're selling you the dream that they've got this program that can do this kind of analytics. I don't think it's totally there. You know, yeah, I look at the CDC reports and this and that, and still you can look at them, you can interpret them 14 million different ways and come up with any kind of perception of what you think they mean. But I haven't found somebody, not like, I guess, not like the NFL or something. They've got this stuff dialed in, man. In
Right.
baseball, they know what that pitch is going to, you know, but I think somewhere down the line, there might be something to this that could really make a difference. Let me ask you this.
Segment. I think there's a segment that it definitely works for, because if you're going to a casino 28 times a month, Benny, I think we can pretty much figure you out, right?
Yeah.
I think we know what makes you tick and what makes you walk away. But it's, again, that's not player development. That's retaining,
no,
and it's important. But it's retaining loyalty, and it's retaining the business retention. So I'm strictly PD. I'm strictly PD. I look at everything. I was just in a joint, and they had water park tickets, and they were giving them away or something. I said, no, PD, grab them. Go walk around and sign people up. You want a water park ticket? Play for an hour with a card in them, right? I look at I did it with Celine Dion at Caesar's Palace with Mark Giuliano. He was giving them all, not him, but Caesar's was every Tuesday or Wednesday, the girl was sealing an envelope. And finally, one day I said to her, what's in the envelope? She said, Celine Dion tickets. They go to the employees. And I go, not after today, they don't. And Mark Giuliano allowed me to make a little ambassador program on the floor and walk around signing people up for Celine Dion tickets that were going to go to employees. You know what I mean? So I look at everything as PD.
Well, you know, the thing is too, you get people who think they know a little bit of the analytical approach, and they say, well, we're going to have this Vietnamese concert this weekend. Yeah. And we're really going to bring in our Asian. Wait a minute. It's a Vietnamese concert. Yeah. The Chinese are more into the play and dancers and this and that. They're not into or like, say you bring a K-pop act. That's not going to bring your Chinese bot players to the property. But that's how they get that cloud in their mind. Let me ask you this. We've been through a horrible 21 months or 22 months or whatever, however long this thing is going to last. I'm right. I mean, things are easing up. People are getting a little bit more comfortable with COVID. It's definitely not going away or not looking like it's going to go away anytime soon. It's something we're going to have to deal with for quite some time. The people that aren't coming back to the brick and mortars, what do you think? How do we pick up the phone, or what do we say to them? What do we do? And there was such a push to get everybody into the iGaming, and just the perfect storm of the sports betting came out right at the start of this pandemic, and it's changed the way people think. I mean, do you think some of them players will never come back to the brick and mortars?
I mean, I wish. This question needs a whole nother, we need a convention, because this is huge. This is a big, there's so much going on right now, just because of everything you just said. So first and foremost, I went out during the pandemic, during the height of it. And this, everybody knows this. They say it's not a political thing. They say it's not a demographic thing. They say we're all in this together. It's absolutely not true. I've gone to places, during the pandemic, and nobody had a mask on, right? It all depends on where you go, right? There's states out there that are governed by whatever, and especially Indian casinos, they're pretty much, sovereign ground, so they can make their own decision. So the bigger cities, yes, they were getting crippled by this. Canada, I had contracts in Canada that all just went. I was in Canada when COVID hit, and they just closed. I mean, those casinos just shut down immediately before we did, right? And I think still they're having struggles. So it depends where I go. It's always different wherever I go. Some places are you got to be vaccinated, you got to be two mats. Some places don't care. What I'm hearing from a lot of people, Morongo and some other places, they are loving it. They are loving the people that came back. It seems like the real player came back over the lower end tier, right? It seems like a lot of the VIP, they're getting more of that now than they did before. I don't know the answer. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an analyst, right? But that's what they're telling me. And a lot of places are reporting this to me. that they're actually doing better, and and better revenue, better, lesser people, but the better people are coming in. So that's fantastic. As far as PD, again, I make the call. When I went out during the pandemic, the hosts, that's the number one thing they were worried about. And they wanted a silver bullet. And I said, to me, it's no different than I just had a heart attack, my business isn't doing well, or the only bridge to get to your casino is out, right? There's no difference. It's a sales call, and you have to be prepared for the answer. So if you know your bridge is out, don't call people and go, so you're not coming here because the bridge is out, And when I started going out, that's what the hosts were doing. They were calling and acting like, oh, I know it's really bad right now. And then I go, don't have that. Are you open? Yeah, we're open. Okay, then don't worry about it. I'm not saying push somebody's head against the wall to come here, but if they're comfortable, they'll come. So somebody says, man, I just had a heart attack. I don't go, oh my God, are you dead? Are you on your nose? I go, oh man, you're going to make it. I know you, man. Even I don't know the guy, right? You talk about sales. I'll say, you're strong. You're as strong as an ox. We're going to see you back in here. And sometimes they go, oh no, I'm okay. I'll come in next week. You never know what they're going to say, but you don't give them the bullets to shoot in a gun, right? You don't go, here's the bullets and here's the gun. Take a shot at me, Benny, right? So with COVID, when players were saying to the host, well, what about COVID? The host, I trained the host just to say, well, we're open. We're open. We have sanitizers everywhere. The guy's checking your thing when you come in. People are hitting jackpots. You don't feel comfortable coming in. It's fine. I understand. But we're open. And I didn't like the promising, I promise it's the cleanest and you won't get sick because, then every player is going to want free play. I got COVID. You owe me free play, So it all depends on where I go. Again, it depends on the demographic. But I never, no matter what kind of sales call I'm making, I don't give into that. You know what I mean? I'm positive and I'm pitching the experience, and if you're uncomfortable, you'll make that decision, right? There's some people you can put a bullet to their head. They're not coming in. I don't care how much free play you give them or how much food you give them. They're not coming in.
Well, you know what? One thing I have noticed since the COVID and the iGaming, I've been to a couple of jurisdictions that have iGaming, and I think you've gotten rid of some of the the lower limit players. I mean, they know when they go to the casinos, the staffing's down. We only have so many tables. The tables are going to be $15, $25, $50,
Yeah.
They can't play that $5 bet no more. And now they're playing at home in the iGaming. And what that does is making a better overall experience for the VIP players that you're talking about, that mid-level range player who always had to come into a crowded table. Now that they've got 3 or 4 or 5 people on there. They ain't got 6 every table they go to, and it's just a much better experience, right?
4 of the 6 don't know how to play blackjack,
right? And so now they're staying a little bit longer, and you're seeing these table games revenues blow up, and I think that's got a little bit to do with it. There again, that would be another one of them kind of freakonomics things that you would have to go down the line 3 years from now. And we'll say, you know what? That made a big difference to when iGaming opened up at this point. And I think ultimately iGaming, all these gamings are we haven't hit our critical mass in the gaming industry. All of them open up new people, new players to the real thing, right? I remember I think I was telling you before we started this interview, when I was going into Vegas and everybody said, oh my God, the proposition whatever just passed in California. We're going to close up shop here on the Strip.
Right.
And all I did is make the Strip, and look at the Strip, 20, 25 years later, it's a nut house, still.
It's a nut house, but you can't deny that demographic changes, right? The clientele definitely has changed in Vegas at 100%. It's not the clientele I remember when I was sitting there, right? So
it's a party clientele now. Vegas, I seen a statistic yesterday that they only make 27% of overall revenue is gaming now.
Yeah, the rest is nightclubs and pool gift shop, and it's an amazing turnover. But you bring up iGaming. I think brick and mortar's in trouble, to be honest. But way down the line, I'll be dead probably. But I trained with DraftKings, one of their branches in Jersey City, in New Jersey. I trained with DraftKings. I couldn't even train because the numbers just blew me out. Astronomical, the numbers them and FanDuel are posting. Just astronomical. The Millenniums, they're amazing. They're amazing. They don't have to get off the couch. You know, they can do 3 things at once, and they do everything on their phone. But the thing that we're forgetting about DraftKings and FanDuel is they have full casinos on their apps, and a lot of people don't either know it or think that for a minute. That you're right. You're still exposing people to blackjack and slots, and then hopefully they go down the block to the casino or go to Vegas and go, I'm going to try the real thing. But I think down the line, millenniums, I mean, look what they did with Uber and Instacart, and it's just amazing. It's going to be a different world. It's going to be a different world.
Well, the only argument I can make against that was right before the pandemic hit. We've seen the biggest surge in table games play in 20 years. It was absolutely nuts. Places like National Harbor were blowing their slots away, blowing slot banks out. And I attributed that to, and my theory is people are so connected, Nick, all the time, right? I'm connected to this computer. I go to work. I carry 2 cell phones. Yep. You know, when I get done with that, when that week's over, I want to go out and be with people, and I can't do that on a slot machine. So that's what I think the raise.
Or at home on the couch. Yeah, not to mention if your wife or boyfriend's nagging at you, right? You want to close the phone and get out of the house. So
and iGaming's new, just like anything else. It's new, it's fresh, it's exciting. The new game and the amount of spend, the reinvestment that these companies are blowing through to try to get this thing off the mark. But we'll see. Yeah, I think when COVID slows down finally and trickles away, I think the table games is where it's at when it comes to gaming. I mean, I think people will flock back in herds. But go ahead, Nick.
I try to teach a balance with the PD. The one good response I've had, I've invited table games people to my seminar, to my trainings, because I tell the host in the beginning what I told you, that only a host can do player development, right? So they can't delegate that job to anybody. So when they tell the table games guy, tell the guy, no, he doesn't play enough. You can't do that. That's not the table games guy's job. That's why they don't like you. Not only don't they see you ever, and when they do see you, you're giving away the house, right? They think, now you're not coming out of the office to go deal with what is your job, right? So I really want hosts to really start educating themselves on the table, getting out to the table, checking in with the table, talking to the table guys. Originally, just so you know, I'm a table host. That's how come, right? Atlantic City, New Jersey, Caesars Atlantic City. We didn't even look at the slots back then, right? We didn't have the readers. I was in the tables. I was a table host. So, I still love it. I still think it's low-hanging fruit. I still think we can get some business out of it. The problem is sometimes the theos are low, but that's just, look, you said in the beginning, that's just knowing the hold on the game they're playing. That's knowing their average bet. It's knowing that, pushing them to put more time on the game, and not leaving PD to anybody but the host. The hosts are the only ones that can do PD. They got to stop delegating that job to the real center and the slot techs and the table games guy. They're not experts in that. The host is the expert in PD.
Everybody's a host. That's what you'll hear in this day and age. Everybody's a host, But anyway, Nick, I think we could go on for hours and hours and hours about this. I think we could, but we're running.
Everybody's a host when the answer is yes. Not when no. Then they call a host.
Anyway, if somebody needs some help, Nick, and you're the guy to help them, where will they find you? nick@polito.com. It's as easy as that. nick@polito.com. And my phone number's on there. And LinkedIn, I'm the Kim Kardashian of LinkedIn. I post something, it gets 8,000 views. And I got haters and I got lovers, but I get a lot of views and a lot of comments, which only lifts my SEO on my website. So I'm happy for it. nick@polito.com, and we'll have a conversation. Absolutely. And you're going to be speaking at one of the conferences there in February. You want to promote that? Marcus is doing you have to say it for me exactly. Global Gaming Protection. Did I say it right? Yeah, I think it's Global Gaming Protection, Global Table Games Conference as well. I don't know which side. Correct. November
February of 2022. And again, I'm so excited because it's table orientated, and I really want to start getting the PD and tables together. I really want to finish connecting the bridge that I started building 11 years ago between table games and PD. Very excited and very, very happy about Richard, and he's quite a character, and I love him, and he's going to put on a great event.
So it's been a pleasure talking to you, Nick. And I mean, I think, like I said, I think we need to do this again sometime. I really appreciate you coming on. And this is a great topic. I mean, I think people, you need to sit back and think about this. There was a lot of food there, a lot to chew on. You just heard in the last, I don't know, hour or wherever we've been on here. But, think about it. See what your operation, if you need Nick, you know where to get him. If you need more knowledge of all things, there's only one place. You got to be in the know. So hit this subscribe button. There's going to be a subscribe button down here. Hit the bell for notifications, and you'll always be in the know. Nick, thanks again. We'll be talking at you. Everybody, see you later.